the gridirons around Michiana. This is 16 Sports Xtra.
Welcome into the 16 Sports Xtra podcast. I'm Jackson Neill. That's Sabrina Hoover. Today we're talking a little high school football because guess what? We had some this past Friday night. Sabrina, looking back at this past Friday night, just how was it being out there?
Yeah, definitely. First edition of our 16 Sports Xtra show on high school football. But yeah, no, being out there again, a surreal feeling, really was, because I was telling Jackson that in the office, like, man, we are back, and doesn't feel like it, but we are. But seeing the team, I went to our game of the week, Concord versus Elkhart, and oh my gosh, that one was a see to believe. We knew that this would be a hard matchup going into it, considering how Concord beat Elkhart by only a point last season. So I got to interview Trayvon Curry before the game, and he was like, you know, we got a bad taste in our mouth knowing that obviously they beat us last year by a point. They got, obviously, Micah Gerald coming into a new season here with Elkhart, so they had some big expectations from him, which he really did deliver. He had some really big plays in that game, but, I mean, it came down to, like, the final second. It was fourth down play. We'll see it here soon with Elkhart only trailing by 6. It was a back-and-forth game throughout the entire game. Came down to fourth down with only like under a minute to go. Obviously, Elkhart couldn't get anything going. Concord gets the ball. And, I mean, it was just insane to see that back-and-forth kind of battle because, again, offensively, I mean, both quarterbacks played great. Reese Brevard for Concord, I mean, he had a great game. He's like their entire offense, really, next to Bo Brunner. So, I mean, you talk about a game living up to the expectations. It really did.
Yeah, I mean, last year, remember that 13-12 win for Concord as they started their season going undefeated in the regular season.
Crazy.
I mean, they had that 35-34 win over Mishawaka. It was just kind of this team of destiny. And then now, coming into this year, they lost a good amount of talent off that team. Obviously, Jerron Thomas moving on now. There's, thinking that Elkhart, this could be their year. We talked about the transfers like Michael Gerald. And then Craig Kaler just comes out there and shows like he's one of the best coaches in the region. Yeah. Just great win for them. It was a big, big night for football all around. But one place I want to go, I want to stay a little local for my big take because I was at the South Bend games. I was at a couple of the South Bend matchups, including the South Bend Adams game against Culver. Adams is able to win this one. You know who also won? South Bend St. Joe, South Bend Riley, and South Bend Washington. The first time in a decade.
Isn't that crazy? That
all 4 South Bend teams have won on the same night. And I just want to give some credit to Frank Cass specifically over at South Bend Adams. Right, this is a program that definitely has struggled in recent years throughout its history, but this game showed me so much about the team. Right there, you see that fourth down stop. It was a fourth down stop in the red zone. They pick up the fumble. It was perfect defensive play. Yep. What you don't see is just a couple plays before then, they actually had a pretty bad pass interference called against them that allowed the drive to keep on going. And let's just say their sideline did not like it. Usually that's a moment where a lot of teams would allow that to kind of take them out of the game and Culver would finish off the drive with a touchdown. No, a couple plays later were able to bring up a fourth down and get the stop. That's the type of thing that I think that Frank has really got this program believing in, being able to just be play-by-play. Okay, something happened we didn't like, keep on moving.
Yeah, and you talk about that, I mean, confidence-wise, I mean, for those players, especially to have all the 3 South Bend schools win in one night. I mean,
4.
4 South Bend schools. That's insane to just talk about in general, but, like, confidence-wise for all those schools, I mean, that has to be peak right now. So.
Yeah, it really, really does. We had a couple other big results. I mean, the other game we have to go to is Mishawaka
Marion
versus Marion. Yep. A little bit of a rivalry matchup there. Landon Snyder, still very good.
Still, 4 touchdowns on his birthday, kind of good. So
yeah, even as a junior, I mean, it was funny. We had one of our camera guys go out to that game who didn't cover high school football last season, but he covers Notre Dame a lot. And he was telling us this quarterback is amazing. I mean, is this like a senior season? It's like, no, he's still just a junior. He's like, the running back is amazing. Caden O'Neill. I'm like, yeah, he's still just a junior too. Every piece of this offense that you brought up was like raving about. We're like, yeah, it's still just a junior. Yeah. Mishawaka is going to be tough.
And do we want to kind of talk about the elephant in the room on who Mishawaka is going to face?
I think we have to. Okay, we have to go there where. If we're going to take a look a little ahead, we have to think of Mishawaka taking on Penn.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I love that we talk about Penn and Mishawaka and the rivalry, but, Penn got a big win over Valpo on Friday night, getting their first win of the season. But you look at this Mishawaka team, and I mean, talent is all across the board. I mean, Keith Kinder gets this team ready every single year, but you just talk about it right there. Landon Snyder, I mean, using his legs on, every single play, it seemed like. They run the triple option. I mean, this defense is solid as well. So I think Penn going up against Mishawaka, I do think this is going to be a battle, but looking at the talent that this Mishawaka group has, it's like, who's going to stop them?
We're coming off of the off season, right?
Yeah.
We're coming off of training camp time.
Yeah.
And one thing when it comes to training camp is we do all these preview stories, and if you've been following it on, WNDU or WNDU.com, you'll see a lot of teams, talking about they hope to have playoff success. They hope to go far in the postseason. I think the one team in our area that really, above everyone else, probably has the best shot to go to state, in my opinion, is Mishawaka. They are built for that type of run this year. Even though they have a lot of juniors, like we said, in skill positions, they're still built for that type of run. And after the game, Keith Kinder, we did an interview with him. And the part we aired, he was basically like, oh, we got a lot to improve, but it's nice to get a win. The part we didn't get a chance to air, which was my favorite part, was our guy asked him, he said, oh, so what do you have to improve? And he looked right at the camera and said, there's not enough time in your newscast for me to explain everything we need to work on. And keep in mind, this is after a double-digit blowout win over Marion. But, he knows what's coming up in Penn. He knows that this is a team that really can go to state. And I think that just shows, how much potential this team has, is that, okay, you win by 30-some points or whatever it was in week one. That's still not good enough.
Yeah, and he's never satisfied. And I think to see that, obviously from a head coach is great, but I think the players also buy into that. I mean, you interviewed a lot of them, and they're like, we're hungry. We're hungry. We're going to fight, because that's obviously their motto. And
they're going to get, one player literally told me, we're going to get punched in the mouth and we'll punch you back.
Yeah.
When you run the when you run the option offense, you have to be a physical team, and this team can run the option offense perfectly. It seems like perfectly almost, and they're really tough doing it.
Yeah, so I definitely see this obviously being, big rivalry, but I really see Mishawaka running away with this one.
Yeah, I think it's still going to be close. I think Penn still has a lot of talent. You got to remember, them being a big school, they still can always pull. And, Reardon as their coach, it's going to be a really, really close game.
Yeah.
The other game, though, I'm really excited for. And honestly, selfishly, I might say this is the game I'm most excited for this Friday night. I am so intrigued for Niles hosting St. Joseph up there in Michigan. Remember last year, Niles had the best season in program history. They went to they won, I think, their first regional. They won their first semi-state game. They went to their first state title game. They finished 12-2. The two losses were one in the state title game. And one in week one of the season at St. Joseph. After they lost to St. Joseph, they ripped off 12 straight wins in some of the craziest fashions against really good competition. But they started out with that loss against St. Joseph, and it made sense. St. Joseph was in a division above them. Makes sense. This season, Niles brings back a lot of talent on the offensive and defensive lines from that state championship run. Plus, they're moving up a division.
To Division III,
I talked to Scott Shaw, their head coach, and I think it's 17 or 7 kids, less than 20 kids in their school, they made the cutoff to move up.
Yeah.
And when he told me that, he followed it up with, we got to play whoever you got to play. We want to be the best. I bet he probably still wants to be, in a lower division, but regardless, they're in the same division now as St. Joseph. St. Joseph enters this season ranked ahead of them, something that Scott mentioned to me as well. They beat them pretty solidly last season. This is really could be a turning point, I think, for the Niles football program. We go to that state title game, but we still lost to St. Joe. Well, now we're up in their division. Let's beat them at home in week one. And
I do want to bring up what you said, because I haven't been to their practice yet, so I haven't seen these guys. But you talk about size. Please explain that as well.
There are several players on that Niles offensive line where they're like some of the biggest kids I've ever seen. Like they are.
I'm excited to see that.
They have 6 foot plus, 6 foot plus, 6'2", 3, 4, height with like close to 300 pounds. Some of them like upper 200 pounds. I mean, it looks like in some ways it looks like a Division II offensive line or Division III offensive line in some spots. Like it is already with these high schoolers. 4-year starters, people have 3-year starters all over the line.
Right.
So when you think about a team moving up a division, the number one thing you're thinking of is, can they maintain their, can they maintain themselves at the line of scrimmage, especially for a team like Niles who runs that option attack? They need to maintain that line of scrimmage. Usually it doesn't happen when you move up a division. With this offensive line, I think they'll be fine.
I think it's going to be a really big game and a lot of talented players for sure talking about those. But I'll actually be live with Scott Shaw.
Yeah, you'll be live. You'll be live
Friday.
at 6 p.m. in our 6 p.m. newscast before the game with Scott. So we have tons of great matchups. Remember, 16 Sports Extra every single Friday night on WNDU at 11:15-ish, 11:15. Tune in for some news and weather beforehand. But the real fun starts a little bit later on in the show. Before we go, we want to talk a little bit about Notre Dame because today was Marcus Freeman's first game week press conference of the season. We just got done covering that. Sabrina, like, what's your biggest takeaway, I guess, coming out of that press conference?
Yeah, definitely. So this was like our first time we got to talk to Freeman after, knowing who the starting quarterback is going to be with CJ Carr. So I think, it's funny. We already knew this, but I think him saying it kind of just gives us more confidence, knowing that, CJ Carr, separates himself. Not that Kenny Minchie doesn't do these things, but he separates himself with his just work ethic and the way that he dials in and his maturity level as a redshirt freshman. These are things we knew going into this and, seeing him in fall camp. But for Freeman to say that and see, CJ Carr is talented on all levels, but just, the knowledge he has of the game and the way he dials in and the way he works is something he hasn't seen before. So I think, yes, that was a really tough decision for Freeman to make with the Kenny Minchie and CJ Carr decision. But I know that, when he thinks about, okay, who's going to be the starting quarterback for this team that's going to face a lot of competition, big atmospheres, who's going to be the guy that's going to be, be able to just have, confidence going into that. And it was CJ Carr. So I think that was my biggest takeaway, knowing that what we already knew was kind of solidified. And I was like, okay, like now that gives at least me more confidence.
Exactly. And I think, he said that he had to trust his gut.
Yeah.
Right here that, we talked about Minchie, what made it so difficult to name a starter because Minchie was doing something so well. And he said at the end of the day, I had to throw it out the window and make a decision because the statistics were very, very similar.
Yep.
From everything that he has said, everything reporting-wise we've heard from around the camp and everything we just kind of see for our own eyes, it was a very, very close quarterback battle. And I know a lot of people, you could read into that in multiple ways thinking, wow, Kenny Minchie, awesome, or CJ Carr, not awesome, didn't separate himself. I think you could make the argument for a little bit of both. But hearing what he kind of said about CJ Carr and what his expectations are starting this season this way, just making decisions, making the right call and understanding that every play can't be a touchdown.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what I would want from Carr as well in that game.
100%.
Because, he talked about this is the third, out of his 4 seasons, this is the third time they're starting the season on the road at a ranked team. That's crazy. That is a lot. That is a lot.
Yeah.
So, starting seasons like that is not easy at all. And especially when you're starting your career like that. Now, I don't think Miami's going to be as tough of a place to play as an Ohio State or a Texas A&M. So I'm just going to put that out there, even with their orange out. But understanding that, just make smart decisions. Just he's not going to say this, and you can't say this, but just don't lose the game.
Yeah.
There's enough talent on this roster that if CJ Carr finishes with, 14 for 20 with 157 yards and a touchdown and 0 picks, if you tell me that's his stat line, I'm probably saying they win the football game.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, I'm saying they win. It won't be pretty if that's the stat line, but that's probably a win.
And I do like to talking about the quarterback situation right now. When someone asked about Kenny Minchie, what was his either reaction, when you told him that he wasn't going to be the starter. And I think this all goes back to the coaching and what this team is really about, because Freeman said it was something that I expected him to do. Obviously as a human, you're disappointed that you didn't get the starting job and the starting role. but Minchie is back to practice, putting in the hard work, every single day. So it's like, yes, he's not the starter and he didn't win the job, but he's still going to put in the work and be a leader in what this team really needs. So I think that all goes back to just coaching and what Freeman preaches every single day. And to see that, level of just, leadership going from even the backups. So I think having that instilled in this, program is super, super big.
And kind of going off of that, a reason that as a backup, you might stay engaged, you might stay whatever. Freeman did say, we're going to need both of these quarterbacks this season.
No, you're right.
He said it, and he said it pretty unprompted. He said it like he was asked about just the quarterback. He's like, well, I told them we need both of them this season. And it wasn't like, so he truly believes that if they are going to make the kind of run, I mean, this is a program with national championship aspirations. If they want to reach their goals, they will need both quarterbacks. He fully believes that. And while that sounds like a crazy thing, it's exactly what we've all been kind of thinking, I think, because look at Steve Angeli last year in the Orange Bowl. No Steve Angeli, no national title game appearance. That's how it works.
Yep.
So I do honestly believe they'll need both of them, but I thought it was just very, very interesting to hear him come out and say that today. It kind of unprompted, and I think if you're Minchie and you're hearing that, you're thinking to yourself, okay, well, if when in doubt, like you don't want to think like this, but you're the backup. You're one play away from being from being called in there, and it's not like the guy that you're would be going in for has this long history of success as the starting QB at Notre Dame. No, I mean, we've never seen CJ Carr really play the quarterback position at the college football level. We don't know if he's going to be good or not. There is a chance. There is a scenario where he goes out there and he's not good. Now, obviously, as a teammate, you don't want to root for that.
Right.
But if that's the case, you still need to be ready because, I mean, if he goes out there are 2 really, really tough games to start out the season. And if he really, really struggles, we might have to make a decision.
And I like that you say that, too, because, I think even Christian Gray talked about, having a play not go his way and his teammates are still there, cheering him on. It's the same thing. It's like, every single player on that team, whether you're a starter or not, you still have relevance. You still can help the team win in any aspect. So I think Freeman preaches that daily. It's like, and you're right, maybe you're not the starter, but maybe one day someone gets hurt, God forbid, but it's like, you got to be the next one in. And I think everyone on that team has that mindset, and to have a winning program, you got to.
And I mean, let's not forget also, it does help, to put in some good tape on the practice film if you want to transfer at the end of the season. Not saying anyone in this Notre Dame team would be doing that,
right,
but if you could put some good tape on that practice film against a defense like Notre Dame's, I think you'd have a couple teams kind of interested. Just saying. So that also might keep you a little engaged as well. But we're super excited right now. Football it's officially in full swing. After this weekend, we will have had a Notre Dame game, 2 weeks of Indiana high school football, a week of Michigan high school football. Remember, a lot of Michigan games on Thursday night this week as well because of the whole Labor Day weekend and all that. So just a heads up on that for you high school football fans out there. But Sabrina, we are officially into football season and could not be more excited.
And I was going to say, you will actually be in Miami on Sunday as well.
I will
so
be.
Catch all that stuff on our channel.
Yes, I'll be going back down to the Orange Bowl. Felt like I was just there.
I was going to say, we were just at Hard Rock.
Now I need to deal with parking again. All
right. And the humidity.
Yes, and the humidity. All right, well, thanks so much for watching. Remember, you can catch us every single week here on WNDU.com with 16 Sports Extra.